All right, y'all, we back with another video. So today we're actually going to be showing off how to do Chapter 7, Episode 10. We'll be talking about what characters you're going to use, what memories you're going to use. I'll give you some alternatives, and then we'll break down what the enemies themselves do, right? So let's get right into it. So here we have the bosses, the mobs. So as you can see, there's 3 of them here, right? But there's actually a total of 4. So this center mob that we have right here, there's actually going to be 2 of these enemies. And then we'll have the other 2 mobs that are here. First one with the red text obviously being the boss. And this entire stage is going to be weak to yellow. So of course your carry is naturally going to be a yellow type, so that way you can do as much damage as possible. You're going to want to avoid bringing blue characters, because if, of course, you bring blue characters, you're going to get absolutely fucked if all 4 of them decide to target your one character. And recommended power is 18,500, but realistically that doesn't matter because you can beat it with even less power, right? As long as you know what you're doing. So let's talk about what the boss does. So here we have the boss of the actual stage. The boss, compared to the other enemies, he's literally like the easiest. He doesn't do anything specific or crazy. He's super weak, right? His only gimmick or his only like mechanic is basically to deplete your curse energy and special attack gauge. That's literally all he does. He doesn't do anything else. Very simple. He's not the problem here. The problem here is when we get to the second mob, where there's 2 of them, and what they do is they both taunt and they both heal at the same time. So it's just annoying because you're constantly getting taunted and healing, and you're literally forced to focus these mobs while the actual boss depletes your curse energy and special attack gauge to make it even more difficult to kill them, right? They literally stall you out and be annoying. On top of that, when you do actually enter the stage, you're probably not going to want to attack them first, because at that point in time they haven't taunted anybody yet, and they're just going to heal anyways all the damage you do on the first turn, right? So what you should do is probably target probably the mannequin or the boss itself, right? To at least dwindle down their HP a little bit before you ultimately get taunted by these bosses, right? Or these mobs. So very straightforward, but they are very annoying and tedious. They're like the ones of the stage that are going to be, getting in your way very often. Now we have the mannequin. The mannequin literally doesn't do anything crazy, but does, just damage, right? Very straightforward. It doesn't do anything. No special gimmicks or anything. It's just a normal mob. All right, so let's get right into what characters we're going to be using. So as you can see, we have the classic combo of Yaga and Nanami. The reason for this is because Yaga is an amazing buffer. If you don't know this already, he's literally meta on JP side. You would be using him all the time. The only time you wouldn't be using him is if you have the SSR version of him who isn't out yet, which is literally a beast, right? A beast. But it's fine. You can use this one for the time being until that one releases. This one is an amazing character. Everybody uses him who doesn't have SSR Yaga. Everybody uses him. He buffs the entire team for 4 turns, and you can continuously keep stacking it, right? It buffs damage. So he's absurd. He's crazy, right? Then we have Nanami. He also increases damage, right? So he increases his own damage by a higher modifier, by I believe like 45%-ish or something like that. And then he increases the entire team's modifiers by like 34%. It increases damage by 34% for the entire team. So naturally you can stack that, and his also lasts for 4 turns. So on top of that, with Yaga and Nanami, you will be able to get a tremendous amount of damage by just stacking these buffs. Next up, we have Yuki. So if you aren't familiar with what Yuki does, he is very relevant on the JP side, because essentially what he does is he is a battery. And on top of being a battery, his ult also provides damage buff for your team, right? So you are able to give a lot of damage just doing that itself. On top of that, this is going to be one of your main uses, which is providing curse energy regen for your entire team. That's what makes him so powerful, because you pair him up with characters like Yaga, who are very curse energy reliant, right? So you're constantly always using their cursed energy all the time, especially Nanami as well. You definitely going to want to have somebody who can regen the curse energy at a faster pace for your team. He will kind of, fulfill that role, so that way you're able to continuously keep spamming their curse skills. Right, so Yuki is definitely going to be needed here to provide this constant, buff. Maintain your buffs, right? The consistency. Next up, we have Todo. So Todo, he's an absolute unit. Of course, if you do have better characters like Nobara and Inumaki, you're definitely going to want to use them over him because they definitely can do more damage than him. But of course, since we're trying to aim for the free-to-play clear, we will be using Todo for this showcase. But if you have Nobara, use her. If you don't have Nobara, use Inumaki. And if you don't have Inumaki or Nobara, then you will be using Todo for your last ditch, right? Now let's talk about memories. So for memories, we have these 4 memories set here. I'll talk about which each one does. So the memory that is on Yaga is a very good memory. So it can only be activated by using your special skill. So basically with your ultimate. On top of that, it increases all allies damage by 35%. So you do this with him, it's very good. You're going to be able to buff your team's damage. So naturally you want to use his ultimate when you're going to be using the ultimate with your carry. And since he's first in the slot, he will be able to increase all allies damage first before you actually get to your carry, who's usually going to be in your backline because you want all the buffs possible before he attacks. On top of that, it has a passive where at the beginning of the battle, it will recover 200 points of the character's special gauge, which will allow you to use your ultimate a lot sooner, right? Because you'll start off with 200 points. So very good, especially for him. Next up on the memory that is on Nanami. Now, this one you don't need this specific memory. It could be any memory that you have that can kind of give you survivability. But I have this one because it recovers HP by 14% of your Jujutsu every 4 turns. So that kind of keeps him alive longer. He's not really focused on his ultimate or anything or his specials. He's just mainly focused on his skill 2, which is what you're going to be spamming for the entire duration of the fight. What we have on Yuki is... This one's very nice because what it does is you can activate it by a skill or special skill, and what it'll do is it increases damage dealt by all allies by 15% for 2 turns. This gives you the flexibility of being able to use it whenever you're using other skills or if you're using your special skill, right? So it's a little bit more flexible than the skill, the memory that we have on top of Yaga, right? And do excuse me, I am calling the memory because that's what they're, translated on JP. I do believe on global it should be called Recollection. And then on top of that, once per battle, when equipped, the character's HP falls below 50%, you will restore 20 cursed energy, which means you'll have more cursed energy to be able to use the skill that provides more cursed energy for your entire team. So that will keep his cursed energy up and continuously manage your cursed energy for the team, right? So overall it's pretty nice for him. I really can't complain about it. It's really good because there's a lot of skills for him that you can use that are really good in a lot of different situations, and this recollection provides the flexibility to be able to do that for him, right, while being supportive. Next up, we have Todo, right? So Todo, he's a damage dealer, so of course naturally we're going to be using a memory that can provide more damage for him. So we're going to be using this memory in itself. Basically, what the memory does is when you activate it, right? When the ultimate skill is activated, you'll increase your own damage dealt by 60%, which means that's very good for you because you'll do as much damage as possible, right? Not bad at all. This is basically the strat here is just to nuke with your Todo while using all your other characters to buff him. On top of that, for the passive skill, it does at the start of each wave increase all enemies taijutsu damage received by 30%. Naturally, it doesn't matter too much, but like I said, the first turn you're going to be targeting one of the other mobs, whether it be the boss or the mannequin, right? Rather than the praying curses, so that before they actually taunt you, you'll be targeting them first. So I guess that little bit of damage increase that you do to them will be very good. So yeah, that's basically about it. You're just going to be using this memory or recollection to just nuke the enemies. As you can see, I don't have a 5th slot. You can put whoever you feel like putting. I would say probably another DPS character, if I'm being honest, because chances are if one of these guys dies, if like Yuki dies, you're not going to have that cursed energy regen, which is going to make it difficult to sustain your buffs. So you're probably just going to want another DPS character to try to do more damage. And if one of these guys die, it's fine if one of them dies and you still have the other one, right? So not too bad. You still have some damage buffer who's going to remain there, and then you'll have 2 damage dealers to do as much damage as possible. And if Todo dies, then you probably should just reset, to be honest. So yeah, anyways, let's get right into the fight, and then we'll kind of, showcase how we do it. All right, so as you can see here, we're already in the stage. So like I said, the first turn, you're not going to really be focusing the praying curses right now because they are going They don't have the taunt just yet, so you're able to attack whoever you feel like attacking. For me personally here, I feel like the boss is annoying, but I'm going to be targeting the mannequin because the mannequin has significantly less HP. So what we'll do here is we will buff with Yaga, and then we'll buff with Nanami. And then from there on out, we will do some cursed energy regen because he will start depleting our cursed energy. So we are going to be using the third skill of Yuki to provide cursed energy regen. And then for Todo himself, we are just going to buff. The reason I'm going to just buff, to be honest, yeah, I'm probably just going to use straight utility skills. I'm not even going to attack. I'm going to just buff with him. That way I can start focusing the praying curses who will be annoying. So you could either just attack or buff with him. But in my case, I'm just going to buff right now. So that way next turn I can start attacking these praying curses who are going to be, you know, tedious. So as you can see, they taunted and they healed themselves for about 15k. Overall, that's a lot. That's a big amount. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We'll buff again. And then we'll just do some normal attacks, right? So let's start targeting these praying curses because we're kind of forced to, right? So right here, we'll use his third skill, right? Because the third skill does good damage. His first skill also does good damage. Keep in mind, I do have level 1 skills. So if you do decide to use Todo for a lot of these stages, you can upgrade his skill a little bit. So that way you can have higher modifiers. But as you can see, I'm using a lot of his skills at level 1 to showcase this, right? That it is doable and it shouldn't be an issue for anybody, right? So let's get right into it. We'll target the left one first. All right, so we got one down already. We'll buff again with our characters. Just in case here, what we're going to do is we are going to apply this survivability to Todo, so that way we don't have any mishappens here where he ends up dying, because we do not want him to die. Again, we will use our third skill to do good damage to the praying curse and probably take him out in one hit. Good, he's out of the way. All right, we'll buff once again with Yaga. This time we are going to use our memory with Nanami, or the recollection, whatever you want to call it. And then we'll use the second skill. This will provide some healing, and this will also give, we'll still get the buff. Again, we are going to protect our Todo because we do not want him to die. What I'll do here is I'm going to buff. Actually, I think I might want to attack the boss. I think I might want to attack the boss here, as that way if I do attack the boss right here, then I'll probably one-shot this mannequin here, and then from there on out we should have Todo's ult. We will just inevitably just nuke the final boss, right? So I'll also go back a bit and use I'll use Yuki's memory here too, while providing the survivability to Todo, because that way we will be able to get the 15% damage increase to all allies here. And these two final turns will be the turn that we finish all of this. We end it all, right? So let's finish this guy off, right? And then we'll move on to the boss. Alright, we'll buff again. Buff again. I mean, here, it doesn't really matter too much. I'm going to just provide cursed energy regen for the team. And then I will be using the memory or recollection, whatever you may call it. And then I'll use it with his ult and then finish this off. The boss should die in one single hit. Okay, so the boss didn't die here, but the boss is in a break status, so we should be able to finish it off here with all the ults that we do have remaining. So let's just get right into it. We'll just continuously keep buffing. We'll buff again, and then we'll just attack normally. And the boss is dead. But yeah, basically, if I did manage to get my Yaga's ult in time, I would be able to use his memory, which will then inevitably just let me nuke with Todo all at once, and there would have been no issues whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, a little bit went a little bit off course. But as you can see, even with it going off course, I was still able to beat the stage. That is without, you can use these memories. They're very ease of access. All these characters you can get, right? And that's without using a 5th character slot, right? So you still had an option to have a backup plan, all that good stuff, right? So yeah, basically that's how you are going to be doing chapter 7. And yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.